Good evening, BC. We're coming to you from the Chan Centre at the University of British Columbia for the only televised leaders debate of 2020.
It's never a bad time to ask British Columbians what they want to do and who they want to lead them, and that's why I called the election.
A short season of promises.
Quality, accessible healthcare,
To remove provincial sales tax completely for a year. Plans.
Affordable housing. We're building it with a long-term view.
And pushback.
Mr. Wilkinson wants to stand and yell and scream and jump up and down.
John Horgan called it an unnecessary election.
We are ready to put an alternative in front of British Columbians.
Now, together face to face to help you decide.
We're now being forced into a general election that nobody in British Columbia wants except the NDP.
With me, the leaders of our major political parties, Andrew Wilkinson of the BC Liberals, Sonia Furstenau of the Greens, and John Horgan of the NDP. Welcome.
It's not a time when we put the interests of a political party ahead of the British Columbians.
We need a government that's focused on the needs of people now more than ever.
This is not a time to worry about the details so much as to get people back to work.
The BC Green Party is here as a very viable alternative
We're keen on getting British Columbia going again.
to standing up for the future that we believe in.
This is an extraordinary time. It is an extraordinary election.
Please remember to vote.
How specifically did COVID-19 change the parties' and candidates' approach to campaigning from what we might consider traditional campaigning forms?
Now, we are observing some strict COVID-19 protocols this evening. The leaders and I are physically distanced. There will be no handshakes at the end. And that's because this is anything but a traditional election campaign. There are estimates that almost half of the BC electorate could vote by mail. We hope our debate is a critical opportunity for you to assess the leaders and their party platforms.
BC Election says the COVID-19 pandemic has created a surge in the interest of mail-ordered ballots.
The campaign over the next 32 days will look like nothing we've ever seen here in British Columbia. With pandemic protocols in mind, there will be no door knocking and no kissing babies. And what about keeping voters safe? CTV's Brendan Strain has that part of the story.
In just 32 days, British Columbians will be heading to the polls.
I think the actual campaign will look quite a bit different.
According to political scientist Hamish Telford, don't expect to see a traditional election campaign.
Of course, the leaders will go out on tour as they normally do with staged photo ops, but there won't be any campaign rallies. There won't be big crowds at these photo ops.
On the local level, there's a good chance your doorbell will never ring, with a political hopeful standing at your door, vying for your vote.
Between 35 and 40% of voters are believed to be interested in voting by mail.
So like other parts of our economy, I have also worked with Elections BC to make sure that we had guidelines in place for a safe election process. And that is something that we have been talked about before, that we've been working with Elections BC since in March, when there was elections planned. Municipal elections had been planned for later that month. And we have been working with them continuously since that time, recognizing that there was potential for elections as this pandemic progressed, both municipal, provincial and federal. And the guidelines that we've come up with include how political parties and their candidates need to keep themselves, their staff and volunteers and their communities safe during the campaign.
Traditionally, campaigning had a very on-the-ground approach. Door knocking, rallies, face-to-face encounters within the community. Now they've had to adapt to new forms of communication such as social media, phone calls, and virtual meetings, all while trying to be inclusive and incorporating all age groups that are eligible to vote. This makes it increasingly difficult as they do not have the opportunities that they used to make those face-to-face connections and really rally to get the people's vote. Therefore, the argument being that although elections are doable during COVID, they are much more difficult.
We're going to be relying on a lot of telephone campaigning, social media campaigning.
Telford also foresees no all-candidate debates in local ridings.
These are unprecedented times and uncertainty is around every corner.
The Premier today acknowledging that this will be a BC election unlike any other, but says the safety of voters has been considered.
Dr. Henry and Elections BC have worked very, very hard to make sure that British Columbians will not be putting themselves at risk. And just as we are going to work, just as we're going shopping for groceries, we can vote safely.
Concerns have been raised that many seniors are not internet savvy and get most of their information from debates or on their doorstep.
The good news is that many seniors have landlines. Being able to contact those who are not adept at the internet is going to be the easiest part of the campaign, quite frankly.
The Premier saying there will be new voting opportunities through advanced voting as well as mail-in ballots,
to ensure that people can participate in our democratic process from the comfort of their own home.
BC's top doctor today, ensuring residents that exercising your democratic right to vote will be safe come Election Day.
The guidelines.
Rallies certainly won't see people knocking on our doors, but we will see a lot of that move into the comfort of our homes and using the kinds of technology that are available to us.
Meaning texts or online ads could be some of the heightened means of reaching potential voters. But these routes cost money, and some experts suggest this could put certain parties at a disadvantage. How to reach voters of all ages was a question John Horgan faced when he announced a fall election Monday. Reporters pointed to seniors who may not have access to digital platforms.
Information about candidates in local constituencies will be available through a variety of platforms, not just the internet. The good news is that many seniors have landlines. Being able to contact those who are not adept at the internet is going to be the easiest part of the campaign, quite frankly.
With fewer people expected on the campaign trail during the pandemic and messaging increasingly going digital, Rutowski fears reporters could be at risk when it comes to having access to candidates. During these days of COVID, in-person question periods have been replaced with questions being asked over the phone, and news conferences ending with the click of a button.